Hey guys, it is Nick here, and today we will be seeing if the governor is pleased to save his zombified daughter Penny will either work on Rick and Shane, or if they will fall on deaf ears. This is part 5 to the awesome remake of What If Rick Spared Shane, which I hope you guys are sincerely enjoying so far. Now, in the last episode, we see Rick and Shane finding the governor's main room in his big house with all the heads and everything else that the governor had to offer there. And then they see the zombified daughter of the governor, Penny, in which case they're having mixed opinions on the governor in general. Now, the governor, seeing the both of them in there, and especially near his zombified daughter, and possibly knowing what's about to happen, and the fact that Shane returned, seeming suspicious of the governor in general, and possibly the one who killed Tim Crowley and Gargiulio and Merle, tries to make his case and pleas for his daughter to live. But Rick and Shane, now on much, much better terms with each other, since they finally solved their differences, agree on one thing. The governor is crazy. There's no saving him, really, from doing all this. And with a little nod from Rick, Shane pulls out his favorite pistol and boom, kills the governor's daughter. Now, of course, this upsets the governor, and he goes on a psychotic rage and goes to try and attack Rick and Shane. But, see, with Michonne, that kinda worked. But that did cost him an eye. But now, suffice it to say, with Rick and Shane both together, it's not exactly pretty for the governor. He doesn't lose an eye, but he does get beaten pretty badly. Now, the governor holds his ground for a little against Rick and Shane, being all angry and stuff, but as Michonne said herself, anger makes you stupid, so he gets beaten down pretty quickly. And after that, Rick and Shane throw the governor out onto the streets of Woodbury, where at this point the entire town, save from Martinez and Milton because they're dead, advance onto the streets, seeing the governor on the ground, and the whole group being Rick, Shane, Daryl, Merle, and Michonne there. And basically the next part of the plan, outside of getting the governor's men killed and then the governor himself, they now want him to fess up everything that he's done to the whole town. And the governor, not having much choice, is about to, until he sees Merle alive and not really caring to be in his company anymore. And the governor, seeing as this Merle won, just defied his orders to go after him and let these people live, decides that Merle is the result of his daughter's death, and is about to attack when Daryl just puts out his lights with a crossbow arrow to the head, ending the governor right then and there. Now, after that, Michonne, Daryl, and Merle, because they're the best trackers and silent stalkers of the group, are told to go to the prison to get everyone from there and bring them to Woodbury to be safe, because even though Glenn and T-Dog are there, the two real leader types there, well, bar from maybe Lori and Herschel, they don't want them to be there all by themselves, and they actually have a town now that they can be at. Now, I know it's a here we go again thing with the group being at Woodbury, which has been in several of my Walking Dead stories. But, honestly, it just depends on the situation, and this particular situation sees them living at Woodbury. So I went with it. Now, this is the biggest group I'm about to discuss with you guys from any of my Walking Dead stories. Now, my What If Lori survived? Probably the second biggest group roster. But this is definitely the first. The whole group now is consisting of Rick, Daryl, Merle, Michonne, Glenn, Carl, T-Dog, Andrea, Maggie, Herschel, Lori, Big Tiny, Axel, Beth, Sasha, Tyrese, Carol, and Oscar. Yeah, we have a big roster this time. Like I said, it is a much bigger roster than What If Lori Survived by a little bit, not too much, but definitely bigger because, one, Shane's involved, and you might be wondering why Shane is not up here because I didn't mention him. It's because when I made this, I kind of forgot to put him on the list, but he is still part of the group, so that is my bad. Sorry about that. And the likes of Lizzie, Mika, Bob, Karen, and David do appear, but it's a bit later down the line of the group being in Woodbury that they actually become relevant. So they are going to be relevant for the story, some more than others, but just not right now. Now, during this peacetime and everyone being in Woodbury together, a lot of relationship stuff happens. For example, Rick and Lori actually get their relationship figured out because I feel that that whole deal would still happen by the time they got to the prison, but it wouldn't be near as bad because Rick never killed Shane, so it would be much easier. And then here's a little nice something that I decided to add. Since Shane and Michonne had been perceptive of the governor together and actually saw some similarities between each other, some of which I bet you guys can pick up, they actually get into a relationship as well. And this will spark a lifelong relationship for the good majority of this story. It kind of rhymed. Anyway, aside from that nice little twist, Daryl and Beth, like a lot of my Walking Dead stories, get into their own relationship. Because I think that if Beth and Daryl had been given the opportunity, they definitely would have been in a relationship. It just feels like it would have happened. There were a bunch of hints to that. Speaking of twists, we all know how Carol and Axel kinda bonded before Axel was fatally shot by the governor. It was kind of a small relationship deal. But during this time, Axel, one of the prisoners, actually gets to get together with Carol. And speaking of prisoners, Oscar and Big Tiny are still alive. So that's nice, giving the prisoners a little heads up. Bob and Sasha also get into their own relationship because I feel that with them being together here and not sick, it would have progressed much earlier than in the original story. Tyrese and Karen also have their old relationship because there's nothing really that I see changing that, especially now. Now, after this whole peacetime and everything going swimmingly, eventually, 3 people arrive at the gates of Woodbury. Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene, saying that Eugene is just the person that they need to end the virus once and for all, and that he knows the cure, and asks everyone there to come along with them. Now, with this much, much bigger group, how will the journey to Washington and going forward pan out? And that's where we're going to be leaving things for the moment. Now, I truly hope that you guys are enjoying the story, the remake of this story, and I hope that you guys like that I'm giving more relationships a chance and more characters a chance. Stay tuned for the next episode.